My period is still happening a few times a year. Is that enough?
It's almost certainly not enough if your period is just happening a few times a year. The fact is that really healthy, well-functioning endocrine system is going to have you ovulate and then have a period pretty much once a month. Now, if you're a 12-year-old who just got her period, we tolerate a little irregularity. But if you're a 16-year-old, even if you have a long family history of people who get their periods a bit later, probably we're in hormone imbalance. And there's a reason why that really matters. That is the same hormone state and the same red S state that's impacting period appearance is also impacting bone density. So let's take somebody who's younger than 20 and who has irregular or absent periods, in this case, irregular. Probably the thing that's making their periods irregular is a double issue where you're not nourishing enough. And so therefore your estrogen dips down at least some of the time. Okay, that leads to the intermittent periods. But what those same forces are also doing are having a major impact on your bone density. Inadequate nourishment doesn't allow us to form bone, and inadequate sex hormones makes us resorb or take away the bone density more frequently. So when we think about someone who's postmenopausal, they're nourishing fine. So they're still making bone, but they don't have estrogen anymore. So they're slurping their bone density away. With red S or anorexia, we have a twofer. We're not making bone and we're resorbing bone faster. For somebody who's under 20, we actually only have about 10 years of our lives between 10 and 20 years old when we are putting down the bulk of our bone density.
Is it not to 30? It's 20?
It's 20.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes for men, it's more like 22, 23. But generally for people assigned female at birth, it's going to be 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that window closes, you've pretty much got the skeletal strength you're going to then take until the day you die. Now, bone continues to be made and resorbed the rest of your life. And we'll get to that in a second. But if you don't really mineralize your skeleton before age 20, you're going to have problems with bone density the rest of your life. And to the extent that that seems a little theoretical, like bone density, do I really care? There are a couple of things that should make you care. One of them is the likelihood of getting injured. If you have fragile bones, then you are much more likely to get stress fractures that are going to keep you out of your sport for months at a time. You're also more likely to have a traumatic fracture. So if, God forbid, you're in a car accident or a ski accident, you may have much worse injuries than you would have otherwise with strong bones. In addition, softer bones, especially along the spine, which are most affected by this process, don't just squish down consistently across the length of the spinal bone. In fact, they squish down forward so that people will end up with what's called kyphosis, or a permanent curvature in the top of the back that is impossible to fix. You can't just sit up straighter to fix that. The bones have crunched forward. That's very painful, and it also allows poorer lung capacity for capacity to do sport. Now, if one is older than 20, you're still talking about that form resorb process. So let's say, hopefully, you really had a great skeleton density put down before age 20, you had normal periods, you nourished properly, you rested. After age 20, if you're not nourishing properly and you have only intermediate or irregular periods, then the likelihood is that you're resorbing bone faster and you're not making bone. And so people can end up with serious osteoporosis at quite a young age.
Thank you. And for someone like Hello, who maybe has had that period of where you weren't taking good care and maybe resorbing a lot more than you should be, is that, for someone who's panicking right now, what would you say to that person who maybe has had a period like mine was 9 years where I was not, was not functioning correctly?
The earlier that one begins to take care of oneself again, the better. Okay. And the way in which your bones respond to that are going to be somewhat genetic.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you say, okay, wow, I've just realized things need to change, and you begin doing better rest days, better nourishment, maybe allowing your body weight to come up if that's relevant, maybe not if it's not relevant, the sooner your bones get the message, hey, let's start working again, because your body doesn't keep a grudge. It's ready to work so beautifully for you if it's given half a chance. So the way that we know how any given person's unique body is responding is you get a bone density test called a DEXA scan every 2 years. And it's important to recognize that radiologists actually often misread those, which is like, well, that's alarming. But people under 50 need to follow a Z score, not a T score. About half the times I get these back, I have to send it back and be like, nope, this person's under 50. Please give me a Z score. And we have to remember as well that the International Olympic Committee determined that the cutoff for abnormal bone density for an athlete under 50 is -1. The general score is less than -2. But for young athletes under 50, and doesn't have to be professional athlete, it's anyone who is doing regular athletics, the cutoff is less than -1. So if one is under 50 and the Z score is less than -1, it's time to pay attention and be like, oh gosh, okay. And if it's not less than -1, we don't say, oh, well, I guess I'm fine. I guess I don't have red S. You say, oh, body, thank you for having such beautiful protective genetics. I will not taunt the Mother Nature here anymore. I'm going to take this as a gift, and I'm going to take really good care of myself.
Okay, I'm going to do this right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We should all be doing this. Thank you so
Yes.
much.